My roommates thought I was asleep when I heard them quietly deciding who would get my room, my belongings, and everything I had spent years building. I lay completely still beneath the blanket, barely breathing, while their whispers traveled through the thin apartment walls. They thought I knew nothing. They thought I would never hear the truth. But that night, I discovered that sometimes the people you call family are already dividing your life before they have even said goodbye. My name is Daniel, and for the past 3 years I had shared a small apartment with 2 roommates, Marcus and Ethan. We had moved in together when rent became too expensive for any of us to manage alone. At first, we were more than roommates. We cooked together, watched movies on weekends, helped each other through bad days, and celebrated every small victory. When I lost my job, they told me not to worry about rent for a month. When Marcus got sick, I stayed awake beside him all night. When Ethan struggled with his college fees, I quietly covered part of the payment because I knew he was too proud to ask. Over time, however, things changed. I found steady work and started saving money. I also inherited a modest amount from my grandmother after she passed away. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to give me hope that someday I could move into my own place. I kept that money in a separate account and rarely talked about it. I didn't want money to change our friendship. If you believe kindness, second chances, and genuine friendship still matter, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this story, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness SPAC. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need a little hope today. One Friday night, I came home exhausted from work. I had a headache, so I went straight to my room, turned off the light, and lay down. A few minutes later, I heard Marcus and Ethan enter the apartment. They didn't know I was home. Their voices were unusually quiet. I couldn't make out everything at first, but then I heard my name. I opened my eyes. Marcus was saying that I probably wouldn't be staying much longer anyway. Ethan answered that if I left, they could finally turn my room into an office. Then Marcus mentioned my furniture. He said some of it could be sold, while other things could be divided between them. My heart began pounding. They weren't talking about me moving out someday. They were talking as if my departure was already decided. Then Ethan said something that hurt more than everything else. He wondered who would get my grandmother's old wooden desk, because it was worth a lot. I stared into the darkness, trying to understand how the people I trusted could casually divide my belongings while believing I was asleep. For several minutes I didn't move. I remembered every meal I had cooked for them, every late-night conversation, every time I had helped them without expecting anything in return. Suddenly, those memories felt different. Maybe I had mistaken convenience for friendship. Maybe they had only loved what I could provide. The next morning, I acted normally. I made coffee. I smiled. I even asked them how they slept. Neither of them knew that I had heard everything. But instead of confronting them immediately, I decided to observe. Over the next few days, I noticed things I had ignored before. Ethan had started looking through the apartment's storage boxes. Marcus had measured the space around my desk. They were preparing for a future without me. One evening, I finally asked whether something was wrong. They both denied it. Their smiles looked forced. I wanted to accuse them, but something inside me stopped. Then my employer called. The company was downsizing, and my position was being eliminated. For the first time in years, I felt completely lost. I had savings, but without my salary, everything suddenly became uncertain. I sat alone in the apartment parking lot for nearly an hour, staring at my phone. I was afraid of losing my job, my home, and perhaps the only friendships I thought I had. When I returned upstairs, I overheard Marcus telling Ethan that this was the perfect time to ask me to leave. I felt something inside me break. That night I packed one suitcase. I didn't take the furniture, I didn't take the television, I didn't take anything they had been discussing. I only packed my clothes, my grandmother's photographs, and the small wooden box she had given me before she died. Before leaving, I placed an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was the final month's rent I owed. I also left a note thanking them for the good memories. Then I walked away. I spent the next few weeks sleeping in a cheap rented room and searching desperately for work. There were mornings when I couldn't afford breakfast. There were nights when I stared at the ceiling wondering how quickly life could change.